All right, great crew today. Thanks for everybody for joining. We wanted to do an update. This price list has a number of changes, not so much price, not really pricing. We didn't change pricing, but we changed, there's some structural changes in the list. We have some new products, some new packages, both on the product and the service side. And it's some things we've been collecting together, and in some cases already quoting, and may not be new, may not necessarily be new, but they're things that we've kind of stabilized and are putting in your guys' hands as well to quote directly. So there was kind of enough of a list of things. We thought it would be useful to get you guys up to speed. So said some product stuff, some packaging offering, and some just structural stuff about the price list. So here we go. Let's see, I've kind of a summary. So first things, new load control panels in addition to retrofit kits. We've been quoting and shipping these for 6 months now, so that part's not new. You guys haven't necessarily had in your hands the pricing to be able to quote these directly. What we've added to the price sheet, our price sheet, are a retrofit panel schedule and a new panel schedule. These make it really easy to both keep track of your own quote and to make sure things are organized. So the way you use this is if you're doing, let's say, a new panel, you go ahead and you enter the panel names. You can pull those off the plan so that you can keep track of them really easily. You pick the panel size. So you pick the chassis size, relay combination. That will give you, just basically, if you do that, we'll generate the part number, and then generate basically a bill of materials that we need to generate that panel order in terms of the number of controller units, the number of power supplies. Also enter if you need any divider panels, if you have, let's say, an emergency and non-emergency, or 110 or 277 sections. You can actually, by our UL approval, you can actually put those in the same panel. You can mix emergency and non-emergency in the same panel. You're just supposed to have a divider to have them in different sections. So basically, you just fill that out. That allows you to print that out and make, you now have a complete panel schedule for your quote and for the electricians on install that has the panel name and all the details. That also, you can send that to us. That gives us a bill of materials by panel. We then get that to our panel shop so that they know what to build and can build them up and kind of track end to end. So please, I would say you have, for new panels, you have to use that schedule because panels have to be built one by one, for specific for specific rooms. And so we don't just offer, chassis and relays and parts there. We offer complete panels because it's got to be assembled and labeled to get UL approval. And it also will just make your job a lot easier to just use that sheet. Retrofit panel schedule, we did the same thing. Again, primarily to make it easy for you guys to keep track of and for us to keep track of how many, not only just the total quantity, but how many relay units go where, because and a lot of times panels can have, you can have a varied number of circuits. You don't always fill a panel full. In some cases are spares, and it's not clear to the installer whether you wanted to have controls on the spares or not. So we also ask you to do a retrofit panel schedule, and that'll again give you a bill of material and an install sheet to give the electrician that can tell them exactly how many units and what voltages to put in what panels, so there's a smooth install. Those automatically feed into the price tool, and will aggregate into a single line item for new panels and for retrofit panels and give you a single line price, which keeps the quote sheet simple and kind of on a one page even for a large project. So we built all that out. Again, we've been using it for a while now. You can now, this is all straightforward and pretty easy to quote. So, if you're doing your own quoting, you feel free to quote panels directly now. And these tools will make it easy for you to do that. Power supplies, we have now in stock a 480 volt, 500 milliamp AC to DC power supply. That's another, it's kind of the big brother of the 277 that we've had for about 6 months now. They are an Avi-on product. We've tested and upgraded components on them, they're our own specification. They're conformal coated, so they have high resistance, water resistance, and humidity resistance. You can put them in outdoor fixtures, etc. ETL recognized, and are also more cost effective than some other options out there. I would say it's one of the most, if not the most cost effective 480 volt DC power supply out there. It's particularly, both of them are actually pretty cost effective. So they're 110 277 and 110 480 all voltages. So those are all now on the list, and I know a couple of fixture companies. The form factors are generally the 277 is smaller than our other power supply. The 480 is bigger. Just 480 stuff's always bigger. SIM options. So the sensor input module, that takes a contact closure input and does a variety of things in the system. We're expanding the kinds of things you can do with that. And they have different firmware. So they're the same box, but they ship as different SKUs with different firmware. So we can think of, the contact closure triggering, I want something to happen in the system. What is that? So you can, what we call SIM as a motion sensor. So and that's what the standard SIM, if you've ever used a SIM before, that was the SIM as motion sensor. And what that can do is trigger on lights at a specified dim level for a specified time. It can do bi-level dimming, vacancy occupancy. It can bring in daylight harvesting, time scheduled behaviors, etc. Just think of anything you can do with a motion sensor, you can do with a trigger from a SIM. And that can be obviously an actual motion sensor trigger, or it could be a button or an external system input that you want to have trigger the behavior of a motion sensor. Another one that we've added is SIM as a wall station. So think of SIM as a one-button switch. And so you can press that button to turn on and off. You can also hold the button and it will cycle through dim cycles up and down. So you can do both on-off and dimming via a third party, any kind of momentary or continuous contact button of anything out there on the market. You just wire it in. We're using this for hospital single button pillow speaker connections. We've actually deployed those and they're working great. It can provide both on-off and dimming from a single button pillow speaker. Waterproof connections. We actually have a prison where the inmates can turn lights on and off in their cells, and we've got a ruggedized switch there controlled by that SIM. So a lot of different applications there. Or if you want a specialty, red button type application, things like that, you can basically use that to take any third-party button and trigger it, with a pretty complex set of behaviors. So just when you're working on the quote, think about what you want that SIM to do. Are you thinking about motion sensor, turn on, then turn off? Do you want to just have it on-off like a manual switch, and then order the appropriate SKU? The third one is the SIM and override. People, in some cases, when you have like open spaces in an office and you want to, it's normally motion sensor, daylight harvesting type behavior. You want to override that for a special event or party. That switch can basically temporarily override all the other controls in the space and set lights at a specific level for a specified period of time. That's also in addition, we have other, those aren't the only we have some other things that rely on that same hardware, lockdown mode triggers, 924 triggers, but those have kind of their own product names, and are pretty much the same, as haven't changed and are the same as before. So you'll now see those 3 SIM options on the price list. We've added a, this is available in low quantities now. We're using them. We'll be in mass production shortly, over the next month or so, an RS-232 interface. So this is a general purpose two-way RS-232. You can trigger scenes, group behaviors from a serial protocol. You can also receive commands by 232. Pretty robust command set available for that. I'd say the primary use case we think about is touchscreen and AV integration. Most touchscreens and AV products have a 232 interface, and this allows a local, non-network, non-cloud-based interface to those systems, and specific options I'll talk about in a minute. There's a number of DMX control interfaces that also use RS-232 in some building control systems. So generic, useful, kind of completes our suite of integration options. We now have RS-232, BACnet, contact closure input, contact closure output, and even web API interface. So we have a pretty complete list. There's not really much in the way of interfaces that we don't have to third-party systems now. They're all two-way, and none of them, as always, involve any kind of gateways. Touchscreen. So using that RS-232, we are now, basically you plug the 232 into a screen controller, the screen controller into the screen, and you've got touchscreens. We specifically have implementations for RTI and Crestron. Other things can generally, we're not having to use custom drivers. They all have standard serial drivers. So pretty much any control touchscreen on the market should work out of with the RS-232. It just means that you have to build the codes, build the screen and the codes in that touchscreen system. Avi-on is now a direct dealer for RTI, so we are offering RTI touchscreen products directly off our price list. So you'll see those on the price list, and we will also do touchscreen programming for lighting control implementations. We are not an AV integrator. We're not doing general purpose AV conference room projects. You'll need a local RTI dealer to do that. If you're doing lighting only, we will provide programming for those and screen design and programming for those. We have a Crestron programming kit as well that goes with the RS-232 that has sample code, an example screen and code that people can use to build Crestron. So if you're doing Crestron stuff, we have a complete instructions and sample kit that they can use to kind of copy and get them moving pretty quickly on how to do that. Capabilities, triggering scenes, on-off lights to preset levels, adjust dimming levels of lights and groups, dimming overrides, and specialty modes are all available through those interfaces. Touchscreens, we carry a pretty full line, 10-inch wall mount or table mount, 7-inch table mount, 5-inch table or wall mount, and 4-inch wall mount. Everything but the 4-inch wall mount uses a controller. You can see that on the screen. That controller and the Avi-on 232 and the needed power supply is all shipped kit. And then you order a controller, and then the screens, particular screen size and color that you want. We have white and black available. The wall-mounted 4-inch has a controller built in. You can just put the 232 box in the box, same box as the wall mount, And we've tested that with RF. It's no problem. The RF goes right out the box through the unit. So you can basically do a self-contained wall-mounted implementation. You just need to get it DC power to the box and plug it in the back end, and you can do a completely self-contained wall-mounted 4-inch touchscreen implementation. BACnet. So we have consolidated the BACnet software onto the LTE bridge. So now there's the old white box we have. You no longer need that. You can actually put the BACnet bridge software runs on the LTE bridge. You just connect the network, the Ethernet cable into the BACnet, same local network as the BACnet. You could either run the communications through the internet through that cable, or you could still even have cellular running as well. A number of nice things about that. First of all, we're saving hardware. It's cheaper. Second, one less box to set up. Third, probably most importantly, there's a whole new user interface in Avi-on Pro to program it. That means you can program BACnet connections remotely. You can also program the networking remotely, and we can. The new interface is really nice. It's a lot faster, cleaner, easier. Especially doing large-scale implementations, you can sort and filter and find the points you need and add them much more quickly and easily. It also gives us remote diagnostics, remote programming, remote updates. So from a support standpoint, it's much cleaner and easier than having to go on site with a computer and connect to the console. So really nice upgrade, lower cost, more functionality, more flexibility. Really excited about that. We offer that in 3 configurations. So now there are 3 configurations of this bridge. You can have the bridge standalone, you can have the bridge BACnet, or you can have a BACnet standalone only. It'll look like the LTE hardware, but it'll just be a local box. So you'll see 3 SKUs there, and you can pick whichever one you want. They ship as an integrated product, so we're not doing like remote firmware updates or things like that. If you do need to upgrade a bridge, you can send it back to us, and we'll put the firmware on it, send it to you. But going forward, the firmware is also remotely updatable as well as a package. So that should help if you have small projects that want some basic integration. It lowers the price point. It can be as low, if you're already putting a bridge in, the incremental cost for a BACnet can be as low as $300. And for large projects, you get remote support, remote diagnostic, remote management, and fewer components to put in and keep track of. So excited about that. That's available now. We're shipping that now. You probably already know this with Avi-on. You see box. You get very familiar with the boxes, but they do a lot of different things. We have added again. We've had this for a bit, but it's now sort of formally on the price list and released. If you have applications where you want to connect building, let's say you're on a campus setting and you want to have the whole campus on one Avi-on location for simplicity, or maybe you want to do campus-wide control, things like that. But the buildings are a little too far apart to easily connect them using the mesh network. This provides, if you put one of these on either end and connect over Ethernet, it provides a high-speed wired connection between buildings. And it basically just picks up the radio messages in one area and transports them to the other. It doesn't create any, the messages stay encrypted and unchanged, so there's no security implications or anything. And the other application that we're finding with this is large stadium retrofits that have panels-based system, distributed panel systems, and and sitting in concrete bunkers. And if you don't need to build that radio network fully, you can actually just connect those panels together using these boxes and run and basically have wired connections between the panels without having to build space, which can, limit, not that we really worry about RF interference, but just further limit that. And it also reduces latency, allows you to basically all the commands over that Ethernet get everywhere in exactly the same time. So you can have, even a large NFL sized stadium, turn on all the lights on and off. They're all going to go off in exactly the same time, regardless of scale. Another one not quite out yet, late development, but we'll have this out in a month or so, is room partition control coordinator. So we get a lot of requests for if you have partitions and you want to be able to have the switches and the motion sensors change their behavior based on the configuration of the partitions. We're now supporting that. That is a couple components. First, you have a partition sensor. That's just a unit that shines a beam of light, across the slot for the partition, senses when that partition is open and closed. That goes into a another sensor input module. Locally, that's all low voltage, so you can do total low voltage wiring there. The communications are wireless, so the control unit can be as far away as you want from the sensor can be as far as you want from the controller. Then you have a single box coordinator per space. So think of an auditorium or a multi-divider space. You would have one coordinator per space. It's going to receive those signals from the partitions and coordinate the behavior. The way it works, again, no gateways. What it does is when you're configuring setting up the system, you actually set the switches and the sensors to send their commands to this coordinator. This coordinator then takes that information, takes the sensor status, and then resends out the commands appropriate to the specific areas based on all those states. It's really easy to set up. Basically, you just give it the partitions. You tell it where the various switches and sensors are and in each space, and it basically takes care of it from there. All the sort of subgroups and configurations it actually creates for you. It's a really simple setup. The one thing we really tried to focus on simplicity here. I can't remember the number of partition limits. There's a theoretical limit, but I think it's like 9 or something. It's a lot. It's way more than you'll ever see. It's a lot. The other thing we did to keep things simple, this was purely a decision of simple versus complicated. All the scenes have scenes and group behaviors, wall stations, touch screens, all that. The scene space setup is the same in each space. It just changes what that space is based on the partitions. And that allows the programming to be dramatically simpler. You can have as many as you want, and you can have things, but each room would see all of the options and then just respond based on the partition settings. So pretty easy, pretty cost effective, and very, very flexible in terms of what you can set up. And again, can coordinate the behavior of touch screens, wall stations, and motion sensors all together. That'll be out. That's on the price list. It will be out in about, I think, around 6 weeks or so. We're building the user interface. The firmware and all that is done. We could even install product now. We're just building out the user interface to program it. All right, that's kind of the new product list. Now into some structural things about just the price list and some vocabulary. So parts versus kits versus assembly. So parts are the raw assembly. So let's say we have think of an example, a dimming override sim. The part is the sim that has the firmware that does the actual work. to get that working, you need to, if to put it into a building, you need a power supply to power it. You may need other wiring. You may need an enclosure, depending on where you want to put it. And those are all on the price list. So if someone wants to build their own setup, they can do it. Assemblies, those are fully pre-wired with an enclosure, power supplies, in some cases power cords. You simply mount that box, plug it in, and it's ready for programming, ready to go. We offer most of our specialty integration products as assemblies, so that basically all the electrician has to do is stick it on the wall and put power to it, and that their job's done. Then it commissions remotely, and it's really easy to set up. We also have a concept called kits. Kits are the parts, imagine sort of the parts in a bag, but not all pre-assembled and without an enclosure. There are certain things where, let's say like an RS-232, where usually you're wiring that stuff in under a lectern or something, or into an AV cabinet, and you probably don't need or want a big case, for it. You're probably just going to grab the parts and wire it in, and there's a lot of variability to where you're putting them. And so, and where wiring can't be pre-terminated because it's going to an unknown set of components. So in some cases, we offer kits, which are all the pieces you need, but not all pre-assembled. We used to offer everything we offered in all three combinations. We didn't get a lot of call for kits for the specialty devices because most people were pretty happy with just getting an enclosure and popping it on the wall and being done. It also added a lot of SKUs to our price list, and in some cases, some confusion about which ones to order. So we've dropped most of the kits because we just don't see a lot of demand for them, and it's just a way to, again, Avi-on's trying to keep everything simple as we can, rich functionality, but as simple as we can. So we've dropped a lot of those. And so you'll see, so all the functionality and all the products are still available. We just dropped that particular configuration due to low demand. Service pricing. So we've added a gold service contract pricing for new projects. So you can quote directly just as standard service contracts for new projects. We highly encourage and love it if you will do that. We make it it's a little cheaper upfront if you buy it then versus after the fact. So there's an incentive for the customer and for you guys to put that in upfront in the project. The way that works is you quote it in the project. We have a formal closeout acceptance by Avi-on at project completion, at which point the support kicks in. If there's a bunch of cleanup or punch list items, those are not part of support. That would be handled as a punch list cleanup as part of the commissioning. And then after quote, after the project's out there, if you need service, we love to offer service and support to our end customers. Those need to come to us directly for quotes at that point. We don't offer pre-priced ones because we inevitably find there's usually a punch list and some cleanup work. We don't know the state of the project. We don't know who commissioned it offhand. And so we need to take a look at it and review. And usually we're doing a scope of work of project cleanups or modifications anyway. So it just works better to do all that as a package. We offer standardized touchscreen programming pricing that applies to RTI products sold by Avi-on only. No AV integration, just Avi-on lighting. We offer that as one controller per room for standard pricing. That keeps it simple. And one of the main reasons, just the why, is that once you're starting to network controllers with multiple touchscreens, we're into the building network. And we have to start figuring out, what is the network? Is it open? Does it support all the ports? We're now doing local networking work, and that's an unknown that we have to understand. If you use one controller per screen, then it all works standalone, and we can offer standard pricing. We can the RTI controllers can support multiple touchscreens. That's no problem. technically, but as I said, there will be additional charge for wading into the customer's networking. It'll be cheaper to quote one controller per room than, so that's more of a configuration thing. Easy cheap is just quote one controller per touchscreen, or let's say one controller per room. If you have the same touchscreen in multiple places, that's fine. There would be an upcharge for dealing with network controllers because of the wading into the customer's networking layout. And we've added an Avi-on pre-wire meeting as a standalone service option. Pre-wire meetings are an absolutely fantastic way to get a project off right and get it going in the right direction. Highly recommend that for any project of any meaningful size, there is a pre-wire meeting, whether Avi-on is commissioning or not. When we're doing the commissioning, that's included. That's a part of our methodology and stamp process, and we always include that. We are now offering it as a standalone. It's $450, pretty low cost. And so you can put that on your quotes. If the electrician is installing, you're installing, but you want to have Avi-on participate and just help make sure that everything gets off on the right track, that we're coordinating supply chains, people can ask questions, get trained. Really great way to make your projects go well. Highly recommend that an electrician doing their own commissioning do this. Just help them get off on the right foot. If we get them off on the right foot, the whole project goes well, everybody's happy. If they start hacking away at it because somebody didn't read the directions or didn't think to do zone scanning, that's where extra costs, delays, finger pointing come from. So highly, highly recommend this be a standard part. We will start adding it by default onto all Avi-on generated quotes over 10,000 if our Avi-on commissioning is not used. It is optional. If there's a reason why it's not wanted, you guys want to do it yourself and you feel like you don't need our help, that's okay, but highly, highly recommend it. We're kind of going to push that, and if you don't want it, take it off, but otherwise it's going to be part of at least the quotes we're doing, and highly recommend and request that you make that part of your standard quotes. And I think you will find that for a small amount of money, the project success results are dramatic and really put things off in the right place. We've adjusted a little bit of repackaging on how you select service plans with and without cellular. I think that'll be self-explanatory on the sheet. We've also lowered pricing on cellular service. We're doing some improvements in data compression across the line that are lowering our cellular costs. So we've brought that cost down somewhat. Let's see. In terms of the quote tool, little reorganization. We've added new sections for panels and touchscreens. You'll see that. We had some of the specialty input hardware input-output devices spread around a couple of areas. We've consolidated all of those into a new section called event trigger hardware. It'll make them easier to find and more intuitive and easier to see which is which. So you'll pick things directly. If you're importing to Oasis, just a couple of notes, reminders. Remember that a couple things, the BACnet bridge, the LTE bridge, services pricing do have scale factors. It's not just the base fee. So if you build that into Oasis, you need to be sure to build those scale fees into it. Oasis can support that. You just have to put them in. If you wanted to build your own panel configurator, be sure to pick up all the different components, and there's a lot of sizing components in there. Power supplies are 1 per 2 controllers, so there's a little bit of math, simple math to do. There's fuses, etc. Prefer that you use our configurator tool, and then you can just take the line item and package it in. If you do want to build your own, just make sure you get it and do some testing and validation against our quote sheet before you release it live, because there are a number of components there, and it really does take care of all the thinking for you. So recommend using our sheet unless there's a really strong reason not to. That's basically it. I want to just jump and show you one other thing, some cool stuff that's not exactly a product and it's not fully released, but it's really powerful stuff. And I want to show you what we're doing. Wait a minute. Okay. We're now, we've done some major software work over the last several months, and we are now able to generate reporting on our side. It's still in a spreadsheet format, but it's easily available from us upon request. We'll be working to package it to get it right in your hands and even in end users' hands. We're now multiple times per day running screens across our entire network of all, what do we have, 7,000 projects, a million devices, with where we're keeping track of, we know whether the bridge is online or offline, how it's connected, cellular, Ethernet, whether there have been any power cuts, whether the mesh is being impacted by those power cuts, where you might have device isolation, where things are not working because of power cuts in the devices, things we can't reach, maybe a fixture's blown out or a circuit's off, or something's failed, where you need to check installation. Sensor false triggers, we're automatically detecting sensor false triggers and can see at a glance across all our projects if anything's false triggering. Any uninstalled projects or unfinished additions to the network. On programming, any devices that aren't in groups, any misconfigured sensors, any unconfigured sensors, another detail of misconfigured sensors. Batteries, we proactively now, every time a device is used and connected to a bridge, we get a signal of how the battery is. And so we can give you reports on the battery status of everything in any account, not only within a location, but across all locations. So if you have an enterprise customer, we can tell you what sites might have a low battery, for example. We also have firmware version tracking, other things. All this is available now at a glance for every project we have in our entire fleet, multiple times per day. That's pretty awesome stuff. Using some interesting AI tools and other things to generate this. If you do see a site, let's say you see a site here, and it tells you also how many. So if you go to this site and you say, oh, this one, 150 misconfigured sensors. All right, that's not a great one. What's going on there? You can run then a detailed report at Ask Us. It takes about 5 minutes, and we will generate a detailed report that will give you a complete list of all this broken out down to the specific device. And so you can start with a list of misconfigured sensors, and we'll give you exactly which ones are misconfigured. You just go click on them and you can go fix them, or we can fix them. Same thing with electrical issues. We can go and say, hey, here's the devices, these are devices we can't reach. Go check the wiring, go check if the fixture's blown out, if it was individual fixture. We'll tell you which ones, where to go, which circuit, which fixture exactly. So this is, if you know from the past, our approach was we could remotely diagnose everything, but we needed to go in and review, look at the site, run a diagnose, get a report, manually analyze that, and it was a one at a time thing. We've now moved that to proactive, system-based, continuous across our entire system, our entire fleet of all projects. It's pretty amazing stuff, pretty darn cool. And so it's really changing how we're doing support. When a customer calls and says it has an issue, we're going to look at this report while they're on the phone and say, I can see that you're having power cuts. You had X amount in the last, X time, and you have a couple sensors that are misconfigured, and these are false triggering. Is that your problem? And they go, oh, wow, that's amazing. Yes. Okay, let's take care of them. Yeah, here are the things we can do. Here are the 5 fixtures you need to send an electrician out and take a look at. Tell them to go look for this. This is probably the problem. Here's your electrician punch list. So all that now happens. We have all that data at our fingertips before customers call. For customers on service plans, we're going to start pushing that data out to them proactively. So anytime they have a problem with the system, we're going to be notifying them. And it goes way beyond fixture health monitoring. It's not only fixture health monitoring, it's battery monitoring, it's system configuration. If someone, went into the system and was making some changes and made some mistakes and screwed things up, we'll highlight that as well. And so they can see changes, it highlights also changes where any changes made to your system that maybe you're not aware of. It's very complete, very comprehensive about the whole system. And this, again, is available to us now, available to help customers who call in on help desk now, is increasingly going to be pushed out as proactive reporting and analytics directly to end users or others doing support and maintenance. Basically, it means you don't actually even have to log into the site to know exactly what's going on. So super excited about this. Going to be very transformative, I think, for the industry. Set a new bar on support and ease of support, simplicity, and it allows us to, we've actually been able to reduce some of our support contract pricing pretty dramatically because our data is so efficient. We're spending so much less time supporting customers and doing it so much faster and better. And again, we've got the information here. You'll see here through this year, this becoming more highly packaged and more proactively pushed out to end users or other people supporting projects. We're also building this into our commissioning support program. So this, you can think of this also as a checklist. Basically, what do I still have left to do when I'm commissioning a project? And essentially, commissioning becomes plugging away at doing, room by room, or whatever, however you're doing it. And you basically work this list to zero. And when this list is to zero, you've got a complete installation. And we have real-time visibility. So we can also help. This is something I'd really have you emphasize to engineering project managers, ESCOs, other people. We can give them status reports sub-daily on the progress of the electrician and the install and what's complete and not. And so electrician calls and says, hey, I'm done. They can look at this report and say, no, you're not. Go check, here's your punch list. You got to go check these things. This stuff's not done yet, or this stuff's not working correctly. And they don't even have to walk the site. They can basically, and they can be helpful because you're sending them directly to the ones that, directly to the stuff they need to do. So this also applies during commissioning as also during the support process as a commissioning progress tracker. And again, we'll be creating, electrician checklist status reporting and things like that will increasingly be getting pushed out through the mobile app, through web pages and things where people can get access to this information directly, really easily. So super excited about it. I think a huge differentiator here, Avi-on, something that no one else is even close to offering. This cleanly, this simply, and I would say this directly. That's a big step, another big step forward, and it kind of infuses everything we're doing. All right, that is what I've got for this morning. Questions on the price list or anything? If we get a lot, Jeff, maybe you can moderate if needed.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
The RTI, the touchscreens, I'm used to using those in the past from a different, my past life. Are those, that's proprietary software, right? That RTI still utilizes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's something that we'll be able to learn about and do ourselves in the field if we needed to do, make changes on the fly and stuff, if it's something outside of Avi-on setting up.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, we published the command set of the of the RS-232, and you basically, when you're programming that screen, it's basically you plug in the address of the device or group you're trying to reach, what the command is, and off of our documentation, you just plug that into the command.
And I
set.
know I got knocked off a couple of times. Those screens are PoE?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. I saw a question about the health status monitoring available to agents. I would say conceptually, yes. We're still figuring out sort of how we do that. We definitely want this to be, we want to have service plan. This costs us money. We really want to do this best and foremost for people who are on service plans. But we're kind of looking for ways to, we want to use this information to the best effect. And I think you guys are certainly part of that, being able to monitor your projects and add value to your clients by being able to know the status of those projects is certainly high value. And I know we want to find ways to make that easy and practically you guys, while understanding this isn't free stuff and we need to be able to try to have a revenue stream that helps us cover the cost of it. Yes, the PowerPoint will be available. We'll make that available to you guys. Obviously confidential. Please keep it. Please keep it within yourselves. Part of normal confidentiality applies. Just don't send it to Acuity, please.
Will we have, oh, I'm so sorry, whoever.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Will the spec sheets for all the new products, are they on the Avi-on website or will they be available soon? I'm not sure.
They are available now on the Avi-on website.
Thank you.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Jerry Saturday. Well, regarding the room partition coordinator, is there an opportunity for you guys maybe to create like an animated visual showing how these take a standard maybe 3 ballroom space in a hotel, how this would be installed or controlled, just to kind of give an engineer an idea of the scope and how simple it, I guess I'm assuming it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we can work on that for sure.
That always helps, especially with the younger engineers that don't really grasp the stuff. Just a visual representation
Sure.
sometimes comes in very handy. Thank you.
Yeah. The actual user interface kind of works like that. You just kind of drag things to, it's pretty simple, actually, pretty easy. So it does most of it for you. So yeah, no, good suggestion. Do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Eric, one more question regarding the touchscreens. I heard that we talked about it earlier that there's one controller for every touchscreen, right, for a room. So if we do a layout in-house, we still need to send it out specifically to get the pricing for if we want a touchscreen to control all of level 1, for instance, because those are not room specific to the touchscreens are not room specific, they're floor specific. Is that
no, I would say that's okay. You could still quote that directly and that would be covered under our standard kind of fixed price per screen. It's not the output. It's not so much the output that matters. We can control anything in the building from a screen. That's just a command. That's no big deal. What we're trying to be, the thing that triggers complexity and uncertainty for us is the networking, is actually it's the layout of the touch screens on the network that creates the uncertainty, not actually our own commands. So we're trying to create a path. And we're interested in your feedback on this. This is sort of new. We're trying this out. Is we know that you guys would love to be able to just quote and forget, right? Quote a fixed price, know what it's going to cost, not to have a lot of scope or variable uncertainty. If you've ever done AV, there's a lot of uncertainty in what things are going to cost and how much hassle they are. We're trying to make that for at least lighting control integration only, make it more of a plug and play thing. And the way we can do that is if we have a controller per screen, because that allows us to not worry about the customer's network. They just have to get an Ethernet cable between the two, and the rest of it's okay. The more we're starting to connect them together in different spaces, the more we're dependent on their switches and their network routing and whether those things are on the same subnet and all of that stuff. And so that creates uncertainty that we can't know about, and therefore we have to kind of get a little more engaged directly with the customer around it. And the cost of that, again, the controllers aren't that expensive, and you basically burn through the cost of a controller figuring out how to save you'll spend more trying to figure out how to combine the controllers than you will on just buying one. It's complex. It's a situation where labor is cheaper, like hardware is cheaper than labor, basically.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Any other questions for Eric?
All right, and obviously follow-ups. Let's see.
Skylar, just
Yeah.
a minute.
Yes, that will be. Yeah, the question is, we see a touchscreen as a likely solution of kind of primary switching across the entire facility. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're doing that. It's one of the reasons we kind of got these added. Imagine a sports stadium. There's some prison applications we're doing, things where, yeah, there is centralized control by a touchscreen as the primary interface, maybe even almost the exclusive interface. That's absolutely part of this. So yeah, any touchscreen can control anything in the building based on how you set it up, and it's just the commands. It's the same. If you want to control a light, it's the address of the light and what you want it to do. If it's the entire building, it's the address of the all lights group and what you want it to do. It's no harder, no more commands to do the whole building, or a subset of the building than a room. It works exactly the same way regardless. And it's also therefore just as fast as well. The performance is very good. By the way, the performance on these touchscreens is really, really good with the RS-232. It's instant, and it scales very well. If you send a lot of commands, if you send the command to the whole building, it's going to take the same amount of time as it takes to get to one light. And so, yeah, if you guys are comfortable, another question, are samples available at cost? Yeah, we can do that. Sure. And then the other, to the extent you guys are capable, in setting up and doing screens, that's great. We love it. Go for it. We have good documentation, examples, samples, applications for both Crestron and RTI. And so, that's all the documentation is complete and available to you to help you do that. So, and you're very welcome. We're providing that programming service as a service. If you don't have an AV integrator at the table, you don't need one other than the lights. You're just doing touch screens, and it's not something you want to do. We offer that service, but we're very happy to see that done by you guys locally, or if you have an AV partner that does it, that's all good. But we'll provide the again, lighting only backup services if you don't have another good solution. All right. Further questions, reach out to us anytime. Reach out to your salesperson with any questions anytime. Quote team at Avi-on.com, answer questions. Any of those people will be happy to help you anytime, and with any designs or solutions you have as well. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think we're right at time. I want to respect everybody's busy, so thank you for joining. And again, follow up with any further questions, comments, whatever. Look forward to hearing from you and helping you be successful.